What is up, everyone? Welcome to At the Movies with Matt and Ryan. Finally, am able to say that again after a month. Um, but we are back. Matt is back on the other line,
hmm
reviewing a bunch of movies. And when I say a bunch, I mean a bunch. We have a lot. I'm not going to list all of them. As we go, we'll review them.
Take it one step at a time.
Yeah, I agree. We're gonna lead off with the big one, Jurassic World, which Matt saw. I did not. But there's not many. I think there's only two or three that only one of us saw and not the other. So most of them, both of us did see. So we're gonna get right to it. Start with Jurassic World. Matt, you saw that. You can explain it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Before I get into the story, I gotta quote the great Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park. He's walking through the dinosaurs and he sees a pile, and he says, "That is one big pile of shit." And yeah, that's Jurassic World too. This movie's horrible.
Wow.
Oh my god, it is so shitty. I don't even know where to start. I guess I'll say the one positive is I hated the original Jurassic World first off, but this one at least has a decent director, Bayona, who I'm a big fan of. He did Monsters Call and Impossible, which are two movies that are really well directed. He at least brings some sort of style to this. There's a few moments that are kind of cool. I like the opening of this a lot. I was like, oh, wow, that's a good opening. Maybe this will be good. But the problem is the script is just horrendous. Colin Trevorrow, even though he didn't direct this one, came back as the main writer. And this guy needs to just stop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't... Someone needs to just pull him away. Like what is he doing? And I just hate him. Like, he's so bad.
Yeah.
The story here is... Not only does it rehash most of the major plot points from the last film, but it just does so in such a boring and uninteresting way. Like, you'd think since it's a sequel, it's like, oh, maybe Chris Pratt's character and Bryce Dallas Howard's character will have a little more development, but they just have the same like joking dynamic that they had in the first movie, even though it makes no sense that's the case, but it is. And the movie just rehashes that arc. The villain's plot is really stupid. The movie's just overly complicated, and it tries to be about something, and it is fucking laughable because the whole movie is like, should the dinosaurs be saved? And it's like, I don't give a shit. It was just so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But I think there's so many moments in this movie where, especially as it goes along, it gets dumber because there's just moments in this movie that lack logic or any sort of semblance of brains, and it's it just feels like no one gave a shit, completely. It has some really weird story twists that make no sense and are just dumb. I don't know. It was just so uninteresting. I was just bored. I didn't even hate this. I don't think I'd put it in as my worst movie of the year, anything, just because I was so disinterested. But there's never a moment where the movie's able to have a sense of magic, like Jurassic Park, where it's oh, the dinosaurs, this is cool. It's just no, this is stupid. And the movie is so breathless. It's about 2 hours and 20 minutes or 10 minutes, but the pace, it just never stops to hit any major character beats. All the characters are just cliched and kind of dumb. And like I said, the movie's attempts to be something more, or kind of very. I could tell Colin Trevorrow thinks he's super liberal. He's like, oh, there's a scene look, the girl's trying to save the day. The guy's like, you're a girl, and she's like, but not tough. It's shit
which
like
for the
that.
record,
It's oh my god.
which for the record, we're all for that, but.
I agree completely, but it's just if you do it in such a hackneyed way, it's just an eye roll. And I just I wish I could say more about this movie, but I just it was just boring. I don't know.
too
There's
bad.
never a moment where I was like, the action was even exciting at all. It's just a bunch of CGI bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just the script is so bad. Like I honestly think that this movie was way better directed than the last one, but the script is so much worse that it is probably a worse movie.
Yeah. It's too bad that they haven't been able to capture the Spielberg magic over these past
I mean,
few
the
films.
the thing with Jurassic Park is why it worked is because it's such a simple movie. It's like they set up the characters like within the first couple of scenes. You kind of get who they are, and it follows a simple arc, but they're still well developed. And you have good personality. You have Jeff Goldblum, who brings a lot to that movie. He's in this movie here for 2 scenes. It's a waste of time,
Oh
but
God.
it just sucked. There's no imagination or life behind this. It's just really dumb and soulless. I'm not seeing the third one. That's what I'm not. I'm out.
I wonder if I'll see this one. I don't know. The first one's very forgettable for me, so I just,
Yeah, I'd say this is honestly worse than the first one.
Oh boy. Yeah.
It's better directed though, but it has a few shots where I'm like, oh, that was a good shot. The first one had none of
Did
that.
Spielberg
But
produce this or no?
yeah, but he
Yeah.
just it's just his name. It's not like he's involved at all.
I
But
know, but it's just I don't know.
I give it probably like a 3, or no, I'll give it a 2. It sucked.
Wow.
2 out of 10.
Well,
Really dumb. It wasn't even like funny bad. Like there was a few parts that are kind of funny, but like that's kind of it.
well, what a way to start the 1-month hiatus that we've
Yeah.
been. Jurassic World. I guess don't see that, guys. Well, we can move on from that, and you can actually, if you want to do Incredibles 2, which I'll probably.
Yeah, I
see.
saw that Saturday, so I'll talk about that too. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the first one, obviously, like most people, and I think this one is really good. Mainly because Brad Bird is the man. Honestly, one of the best directed animated movies I've seen. The action here it's really up to up to, if not better than most of the action scenes I've seen in blockbusters this year. They're really creative, exciting. The movie has a good balance of humor and character moments, and then action. The only real big issue is the story sucks. It's very predictable, and I think the movie tries to do some good things, with some good themes, but it's all kind of a bit too scattered to ever work as well as it should. But I liked what was attempted, and I still think the movie's a really like fun crowd pleaser. I still think like if people come in with the expectation that it's the first film, they'll probably be a little disappointed. But I still had a lot of fun, and I think the score, especially by Michael Giacchino, who did the first film, the score is really great here too, and it's really exciting. I just thought the action was really great. Like that was probably my big takeaway with this film.
It's another movie that took 14 years to be have a sequel, much like Finding Nemo.
Well, everyone's like, oh, why did it take so long? It really makes a lot of sense that they do this, because then you build a sense of anticipation, and you also get a new market. You not only you automatically will have kids and families, but you'll also have people who saw the first one and really like that. So it makes a lot of sense to do that. I'm not really surprised that it took 14 years out for us to make it. More like you just sat in your ass for 10 years and then decided to. But whatever. It was still a fun movie. I had a good time with it. I'll probably give it like a 7.
Wow. Yeah, I'll probably see, just because
it's good. It's a good fun movie.
I haven't
seen
just like
as long as you don't expect too much.
I haven't seen any animated film yet either. I mean, I guess
Isle of Dogs was good.
Unless you count that, yeah. That was the only one.
Yeah, every other animated movie this year has looked like animated shit, so I'm not really surprised. All right, what do you want to do next? Tag or Superfly?
Do you want me to do quick Ocean's 8? Or do you want me to...
Didn't that come out the week after or the week before? Came out the 8th.
When was that? Oh, before. Oh, okay, yeah. We can do... Let's do Tag then.
Okay. I've seen Tag twice, so I'm an expert.
An expert on Tag.
It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah, I can re-enter the fold here. I can read the synopsis for Tag.
I'll just do it. what if the five friends? They've been friends since kids, and they play tag in the month of May. Jeremy Renner never has been tagged, so they're all trying to tag him. There you go. Don't need to talk about the story of tag for 2 hours.
Hey,
This
it's
is
a true story though.
Oh god, yeah, I love the after credit scene where they show all the guys and they're all these fat like white guys.
Yeah,
It's like,
didn't look
yeah, I'm sure.
anything like.
Which one was John Hamm? Like,
Yeah, didn't look like any of them. I will say though, the movie was actually pretty funny.
it was.
I thought the comedy kind of picked up a little bit at the beginning. I was kind of unimpressed. But it did pick up, and I think it became aware of what it was, and it was just kind of this fun, kind of goofy comedy. But I always appreciate when movies are self aware of and you know, ride that through the entire running time. But
I like this a lot, and I think a lot of it is because the cast is so good.
yeah,
Everyone like it's a good mixture of personalities and talents, and everyone really just plays off each other really great. I think this is directed a lot better than a lot of studio comedies. I like actual like tag sequences are pretty fun and well done. Jeff Tosmick is the director.
yeah,
I also like that the movie kind of tried to have really kind of dark and towards the end, but I think a lot of
yeah. That
people
was
that
weird.
kind of tone switch like it doesn't really work. But for me I like that it gave the movie a heart, and I thought as a whole that it worked. Like I wasn't really bothered by that.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a shocking turn because the movie was. I don't think it had like a dark bone in its body up until the last like 15 minutes of it. But even though like even then we say the end was kind of dark, but the very end of it, it did kind of, you know, pick back up and become, you know, what it was the entire movie. But yeah, I love the cast in it. Everyone just, you know, it definitely utilized its talent really well. Hannibal Buress was pretty hilarious. Ed Helms, Jake Johnson, as like this stoner was pretty funny. So
I thought the highlights were definitely. I thought Hannibal and I thought Isla Fisher and Jeremy Renner were great.
yeah,
Jeremy Renner, I love seeing him have fun because usually he's so like serious. It's nice to see him in a role where he can kind of, I don't know, make
yeah,
fun of that in a way,
yeah.
being like an action star. But I thought
It
this
was
was
a good
about
representation
just
of,
as good as Game Night and Blockers. It
yeah.
was like on the same
It was a
level.
good representation of friendship. You know, a lot. I think a lot of people can you know relate to this, not in the same exact way, but I think, you know, the dynamic that this group had, I think, is very similar to, I'm sure, a lot of, you know, friend groups, and I think that's something to, I guess, praise for the movie.
Yeah, it had its heart in the right place.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's your rating?
I'll give it a 7. It's a solid 7.
Yeah, I'll probably go 7 too. It's not like ever a laugh out loud.
Yeah,
Funny
it wasn't a
movie,
laugh a
but
minute.
the jokes they're solid. Like they
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So our next movie, Superfly.
Superfly, we want to do next. All right. Oh boy.
What's up?
Superfly is
The remake of the 1972 film Future.
Future does the soundtrack.
I'll let you start, Ryan.
Start with
Is the movie
with my with my thoughts. I mean, this movie wasn't necessarily good. It wasn't well written, and the story, it kind of took itself too seriously at times. But I guess you know, it was definitely funny to laugh at. I know director X directed this movie, which apparently he's done like Drake videos. This is another instance for me where people who do music videos should not direct movies. I mean, we saw that with All Eyes on Me last year when Benny Boom directed that, and I think this is the same thing here, because even like the directing itself was kind of goofy. A lot of like weird slow motion portions of the movie, and you know, tonally the movie was kind of off a little bit as well. It just, you know, it wasn't a good movie. Let's be honest.
I'm
And
gonna be honest.
wait, before you start, I want to say this. I do like how it did utilize its soundtrack. Unlike Black Panther, it actually used the songs that it was made for in the movie. Maybe a little too much, but it was nice to see them actually utilize their soundtrack. But you can go on.
I was with you, and I spent a lot of time thinking about the movie, and honestly, I like this movie. I do, because here's the thing. I think this movie actually is a very good representation of a modern black exploitation movie. It's silly. It is silly, but I think it's intentionally so kind of silly. It's very stylized. It's very but I think a lot of it is very satisfying in that way, and I think as a piece of escapism, the way there's certain moments that are really satisfying to see. They the movie definitely has a very current social streak going for it. The cops in this movie are basically just glorified depictions of what bad cops are now.
Yeah.
But I thought it was satisfying to see something like that in a movie that kind of says, fuck the man, and I thought that was a lot of fun. And as far as entertainment goes, easily one of the 5 most entertaining movies I've seen this year.
Yeah.
It is wildly entertaining.
But do you
There's
think,
so much. What's up?
I was gonna say, do you think that people will be angry by them glorifying this lifestyle? Because you say it's silly, but will people be? I don't know. I feel like that won't go over well. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
And I agree, the movie is silly, but I don't think that they're glorifying this gangster lifestyle and these cops being very
It's the ultimate fantasy. The movie is complete fantasy, and I think if you look at it from that perspective, it works.
Yeah, I guess not.
Because it never. I think that's probably my biggest problem with the movie. There's never a sense of grit to it or a reality. I wish the movie this could have been a legitimately good movie if there was some sort of stakes. And I also think the actor Trevor Jackson, who plays, I think they could have got a better actor. He doesn't really have the charisma or
Jason Mitchell.
He's kind of hard to buy as a big crime boss. Let's be honest, he's kind of goofy. He's just kind of goofy. And I was
got the hair. They made him goofy. He had the hairstyle and the just, I don't know. I mean, they did I think make fun of him a few times in the movie, so they didn't just make him into this tough guy throughout the entire film. But yeah.
Yeah, I was really engaged and entertained by this movie, and I think I'm really interested about I don't think the movie fully succeeds at being a modern black exploitation film, but I think there's a lot of moments where it does work, and I think I just had a great time with it. And at the end of the day, I can nitpick the story and the characters, but I don't, I had a lot of fun with it. So I think I'm just gonna side with the positives.
I will say the Rick Ross cameo was actually
Big Boy was in it too. I didn't realize that until after the movie.
Oh, Big Boy. Oh, the Outcast. Yeah. Yeah, he was in it. Rick Ross was funny because Rick Ross was just Rick Ross in the movie, and it was actually kind of a it was a cool cameo.
And here's the thing, I was thinking about this whole movie, and you said Director X shouldn't make direct movies. This movie has a very Michael Mann-esque digitalized look to it. I was trying to put my finger on it the whole time. I'm like, what does this movie remind me of visually? And it, Director X, I'm gonna give him some credit. He definitely makes a movie that looks interesting. And at the end of the day, I walked out of this movie saying, I want to see more movies like this that are just unabashedly kind of goofy and fantasy while still kind of being connected to the real world and in some interesting ways.
Yeah. I mean, I agree the fantasy part of it was probably the best part, but I don't know if it really connects to the real world that well.
I think, but I it's satisfying. It's satisfying fantasy. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's satisfying to see like all the oppression that is in the world, to see this character just go against it and fight past it, and it's not realistic at all. No, but that's why
Yeah.
that's what black exploitation movies were in the 70s.
Yeah.
So like it as far as kind of bringing that genre to life in a modern context, I think it works.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
you know what?
saying.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
Wow, I'm at a 5. I just think it was too hokey.
With like the more I thought about the movie in that context, the more I was like,
yeah,
you know what? It was a fucking blast.
Yeah,
like, and yeah. I gotta side with that.
Yeah. It was happy, but, you know, it worked out perfectly because Future being a part of this movie, and I think just, I don't know, like, I don't know why, but I could see Future, if any movie Future would be associated with, I feel like it'd be this one. If you listen to Future's music, anyone out there who does, this is the movie I associate him with, so that was, that was well done. I think.
Yeah. Obviously, this could have been better, though. Like, I'm very like self-aware of the problems with this movie, but I had a great time. Yeah. It is wild. It is a roaringly entertaining movie. There's times where I was just cackling.
Yeah.
Hey, like to me, I can't possibly say I didn't like a movie that I have a strong desire to rewatch.
Yeah.
But I side with that. But what's next? Ocean's 8?
Yeah, okay, I'll do it. All right, so I'll do my Ocean's 8 review. Matt did not see it yet.
No, not yet.
So I'll give a quick synopsis. So I haven't seen the Ocean's movie, so I'll put that out first. So, I mean, you can...
They're very good.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of Soderbergh's movies, so I can imagine. 5 years, 8 months, 12 days and counting. Debbie Ocean has been devising the biggest heist of her life. She's Sandra Bullock plays her, and she needs a team of people to go through with this heist, and that's what it's about. I'm gonna leave it at that. It's a very simplistic movie. This movie really, for me, I thought about it overnight, and I think at first I was kind of generous towards it, but this movie really had no pulse to it. No personality at all, really. And to be frank, I don't usually like to just say this, but this Ocean's 8 felt like a cash grab for me because it kind of saw what Ghostbusters did. After watching both of the new movies, you know, the new Ghostbusters and now this, it kind of took with you know, the all-female cast, you know, the progressive mind state, and kind of did it with this movie, but did nothing with it. And with such a great cast of Sandra Bullock, Anne Hathaway, Rihanna. I mean, you know, Rihanna's in it, and am I missing anyone? Kate Blanchett. You think that like there'd be some type of like personality to it, and there really wasn't. Like, God, I mean, you could have thrown any other actress in this movie, and it would have been the same exact thing. And that just, you know, it kind of was, it sucked to see. It really did. There was really no pulse in this. Rihanna, they made Rihanna, it was kind of funny. Matt, if you ever see it, maybe you'll notice it too. They give her, she's like Jamaican in the movie, so they give her this Jamaican accent.
Oh no!
and I swear to God, first of all, the accent she does is terrible. But there's parts in the movie where she's not even using it, so it's kind of like, it's like, you know, she can't really talk in the movie, and it's kind of a shame. But it didn't really matter because she didn't have many lines to begin with. They tried to make like Sandra Bullock clever, and it didn't really come off well either. Yeah, there's just nothing to this movie I could attach to at all, to be honest. And even if I haven't seen the other Ocean movies, I can imagine there's something in the other ones to get behind.
I mean, the charm of the other ones is you have a director like Soderbergh who just really brings a lot of flair to it, and you know, there's not much in terms of depth, but at least the cast is like really good and has a lot of fun and brings a lot to it. But yeah. This one, I just kind of like Gary Ross is a very middling director. I wish there was a more interesting director there.
It's a very middling movie. I'm not saying it's unwatchable, but there's just nothing to it. And I think that's the worst part about it is because it's so evident that it's a cash grab. It's so evident because they just throw in all female cast, say, "Oh, look at this, it's all women. They can do the same thing as the men did." And there's a couple times in the movie where that does get brought up, and not very subtly. So it's like come on, like I'm tired of it. Like like there's nothing interesting brought to this film, and honestly, I'm at a 4. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Man.
I was at a 5,
Alright.
maybe 6 last night, but I'll give it a 4. Oh, James Corden makes an appearance in it, and that's like the only little bit of life I see in the movie, and the only like personality. But he's only in it for like
Really?
15 minutes.
Yikes.
I'm not even kidding. Maybe you'll disagree with me, but holy shit, you have Anne Hathaway, Sandra Bullock, and Kate Blanchett, and none of them bring any life to this movie. Like,
I heard Anne Hathaway was fun in it. That's what I heard.
She was okay. If I had to say what was the most memorable performance, it definitely would be her. But God, no, yeah.
Right.
It's not even okay. So we'll move on.
Damn. Next movie. This would be a good one. Hereditary.
Oh yes.
This would be a good one.
Yeah.
I don't care about the story. You can do it.
Oh, you want me to do it? All right. So when Ellen passes away, they don't even say who Ellen is, but her daughter's family begins to unravel cryptic and increasingly terrifying secrets about their ancestry. The more they discover, the more they find themselves trying to outrun the sinister fate they seem to have inherited. That was a good synopsis. Good job.
One word.
Oh God. I knew it. This is this year's Get Out for Matt. I said it before we even saw it. Everyone loves the movie.
I mean, they're both like. You can go first because you like the movie a lot more than me.
I would say a lot more. I mean, I don't think it was like, a 10. Like,
what do you mean? You gave it like an.
I gave it an 8 because I think it was definitely more highbrow than other horror movies. Sure.
I'm in Sixville, so I don't know.
Well, no, I think the movie was definitely intelligently written and definitely had some thought put into it.
That's where I got intelligently written.
I think it was well written for a horror.
I turned my cheek to that. I don't think this movie, the characters, number one, I thought acted really dumb. And usually idiotic decision making does not bother me in a horror movie. This movie, it really, I was like, what are you doing? And I think it's because it's a movie that is more of like a highbrow, movie that, is trying to be about something.
Mm. And
I just think the movie didn't have enough substance either. I get it. It's this kind of the strains in family is kind of developed. They talk about that, but I don't know. The third act to me really shit the bed.
No, the ending for me was very underwhelming because and I do agree with you that the second half of it was not as enjoyable as the first. When it got there was the scene in the hour and a half mark, I think hour mark actually. That was the best scene, and that was probably the most shocking and intense.
I think it peaks there. I think the movie peaks in the first hour.
maybe it peaked, but I don't think it got 100 times worse after that.
I would not say that was the first. I wouldn't say that's at the hour point. I'd say that's at the 30-minute point.
Yeah.
35 minutes. I think what holds this movie together and what makes it work is Toni Collette is fan-freaking-tastic.
She's great in this.
She is a whirlwind in this movie. Seeing her kind of vulnerability and just her psyche spiral is just really, a potent thing to watch. And I think it really makes the movie very interesting at points. And I think it is very well directed. Ari Aster, this is his debut film. It definitely is a confident debut. Kind of his use of stillness and reoccurring sound, I thought was very effective and kind of creates a good mood. And I like that the movie has some really kind of unnerving shots that you wouldn't see in most horror movies. Like
Yeah.
there's especially one shot in particular. It's like, oh Jesus fuck.
Yeah.
But so I credit that, you know.
Yeah, and I think, well, like you said, the Colette's emotion is just, off the screen. You could just feel it. Like it's that good, and I think that's what I can. This movie had things I could attach to, and I really like the intensity as well. Up until probably the last like 10 minutes, which again were just so underwhelming. And
See, you say the last 10 minutes, I say an hour because you kind of can sense where it's going, and it's like, well, I hope it does something more interesting, or I
see,
hope it does this in a very like in an interesting way, and it just doesn't. Like, it kind of plays out exactly kind of how you would expect it.
it kind of like I think the ending just pissed me off so much because like throughout the movie we knew the message behind it, and we knew where Aster was getting what he was getting at. Um, so then when he had to spell it out at the end, like this is what the movie was about. It turned me off a little bit. It really did, because
Mm.
because I've seen that type of ending before, in other movies where the director seemed to just spell the message out right on the screen for us, and
Just wasn't interesting. Like it was like
no,
very. It felt very safe.
yeah.
Like I'd rather something with like more like real world consequence.
Well, I think,
You know.
well, like you said, I mean, the ending, you think the last hour was pretentious, and I do think Aster. I read a couple interviews from him and a couple articles where he talks about the movie, and he does the way he speaks about it does seem like he struck gold, and he like found the most original piece of film. He's written the most original, like no, we've never seen this before in any movie, but I don't know. I still gotta praise it for having some type of merit and something to go off on up until the last 10 or 15 minutes, which was kind of a turn off.
Like I said this to you before. It works better as a drama than a horror movie.
Well, that's
to
why
me.
I thought that's where it was going, because at the 45-minute mark, it looked like it was gonna become this like bloody, like you know I think you even said in a text to me, family like revenge story, but it went into the horror, supernatural direction, which I don't think was a bad thing.
I just thought it was just lazy. And I get people. Oh, you look at this scene. There's details there. It's foreshadowed throughout the movie. It's like I don't give a shit. Like give me movies with some substance. Like give me something to latch onto. And besides the performances, there really was not much.
And I do agree with you. There's this hobby that Toni Collette has in the movie that doesn't.
It doesn't lead to anything.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I've thought about this movie because we saw it a while ago. It's weird to think that hobby, nothing came out of it, because this movie's 2 hours long, and it's kind of surprising when you have a horror movie that's 2 hours long. You would think everything is fleshed out, but that really wasn't the case, at least in that portion of it.
I don't give a shit if people don't like disagree. Like I would rather see a movie like The Strangers Pray at Night that knows what it is and does it well, and moves at a good pace, and kind of knows how to take itself the right way. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Than something like this that's just it acts like it's something much grander and more important than it is. Like it just there's moments of this movie that generally frustrated me because it was just so like Jesus fuck. Like this is not anything to write home about.
Yeah.
I give it a 6.5.
I'm gonna drop it to 7.5. I do agree that I see what you're saying. I don't think it's a 10. I think that's ridiculous. Even coming out of the film, I know I dropped my rating just now, but even coming out of the movie, I did not think it was a 10 or a 9, or calling it the best horror movie since what people were saying, The Exorcist. So it's like, I don't know. I disagreed with that. Like for me personally, I think I would much rather watch It Comes at Night again, like something like that, over this.
Yeah. See, that movie I liked. Like, people are comparing those two movies, and that movie I liked a lot more. Not only because it was a tighter movie, but like the character dynamics were just so like lived in.
Yeah.
And it created a world that was so just fascinating. Like the less you knew, the more effective it was. You know.
I agree.
There was a real like kind of fear to that.
And I think that was the one, I guess, big problem with Hereditary was because it was 2 hours long. The reason why it was 2 hours long was because I think Astor told us everything about it and like kind of spelt everything out, like I said, by the end of it. So it could have been a little shorter, and but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think horror movies. It's like comedies. It's very subjective, and if a movie unrattles you, then I just don't get scared by horror movies. So I'm not like, this movie didn't ever unnerve me. So I was constantly just trying to be engaged with the characters and the story. And in that sense, it was kind of a mixed bag. So, but our next movie, First Reformed, was not. It was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Have I been waiting for this movie?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was so good.
I did not think I would like it as much as I did.
So, First Reformed, which it premiered at TIFF last year and has kind of been in art house theaters for a few weeks. We follow Ethan Hawke, who is the pastor of a church, but also not really. This church is kind of this old sanctuary, and like he even talks at points how it's kind of more of a gift shop or like a tourist trip, like and you kind of see that throughout the movie. And he has this encounter with a local who's he's starting to lose his sanity a bit, and it goes in a sideways direction, and that starts changing him in kind of ways he hadn't predicted. But holy fuck, was this good?
Yeah, this was my favorite movie of the year so far.
Damn, it's close for me. I think
I'll go right out and say it. Ethan Hawke put out one of the greatest performances I think I've seen in a couple of years, and I don't like to say stuff like that, use hyperbole, but damn, I was so entranced with his performance throughout the entire film, and movies are long. Sometimes you get a little distracted for a couple minutes. I was so focused on this film throughout the entire thing, and it was one of those movies where there wasn't a lot of score used, very minimal, and when something happened in it, it was memorable. It just stuck in your mind long after you see the movie, and the topics in this film are very universal. They're very large, but they're Paul Schrader, the director and the writer, he has so much on his mind, it seems like, and he puts it all out there, and it's done so intelligently and so carefully in detail. Because the topics in this movie, like religion and global climate change, things like that are so huge that if you make a movie about them, and it could be, you might not get the most out of them. But I think with what was focused on in this movie, it was just done so effectively, and it made you think. There's a lot of quotes in the film that I was like, damn, I agree with that. I can, I never really thought of it that way. So, yeah, it's got to be my favorite.
A great example of minimalist direction by Paul Schrader. The thing that I will tell people about this movie that I love so much is the use of score. Score in this movie is probably used twice, and when it is used, it is eerie as fuck. This movie is way more unnerving and just makes your skin crawl more than any horror movie, because as you said, Ethan Hawke is fantastic, and this movie is basically just watching his character slowly kind of unveil and just lose his sanity in a way. And the direction by Paul Schrader is, like I said, very minimalist, but also really well done. Visually, the movie looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And I like that as it goes along, it gets a lot more experimental, and it kind of like in a way that kind of matches the character losing his mind. There's certain moments in particular that audiences are gonna be like, "What the fuck is going on?" But like, I love that. I love that the movie takes a lot of risks. And I mean, for me, my one issue was probably the ending wasn't quite as satisfying as it could have been. But I think as a whole, this movie is deep. It's unnerving. It like you said, it definitely makes you think, and it's very impactful emotionally, and even for a 2 hour movie that is just about a priest kind of narrating and talking, it constantly
It felt like an
engages.
hour and a half, in a good way, you know. Yeah, I thought the ending actually was very harrowing, and it's something that I, still remember. And again, I go back to saying that when something big happens in the movie, it's, you're just gonna remember it for a long period of time. Um, yeah, I mean, holy crap. Who else? Amanda Seyfried, she was in it, right, too.
Yeah, she's really good. And
Yeah.
all the acting is really good, but this is definitely the Ethan Hawke
I
show, and
also,
he.
yeah, oh yeah. I also love the setting and the atmosphere of the movie. Like it's set during like the winter time in New York, because it just represents the overall tone of the movie really well. Which I think is rarely done in movies, which is, it seems like such an easy thing to not fuck up, but um, it does really well in this. There's snow on the ground. It's very dreary, outside and everything. It just really represents the whole tone of the movie well. There is not a light bone in this movie's body though. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
very
definitely
heavy.
bleak.
It's very heavy. Like this is not something you would go see with your friends. And I'm
No,
gonna text.
but I'm very excited to see it again when it comes out on VOD, whatever. And I was happy to see it in the theater. Definitely a movie that I think people should support. I give it a 9.
I'm gonna give it a 10.
Damn. All right. I mean, I can't really complain. I just thought the ending, not the idea of it, but maybe just the execution was kind of like, okay. Like it was good. Nothing. Just it wasn't the bam, thank you, man, that I was expecting. Like I think it should have had, but that's okay.
How do you? All right. How do I shut off messages? Because my messages are going.
Jesus,
I'm
this
sorry,
man's
guys.
blowing
How do
up.
you shut off messages? Does anyone know?
Like you can just close it. I think.
No, I closed it and it doesn't. Whatever. Hey, oh my god, these group messages.
Tell him to shut the fuck up.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, guys. What the fuck?
Yeah.
All right, move on. I'm gonna try to shut these off. We're on to action point now.
Oh my god.
Bro, what
I
is
feel
that?
like I'm first reformed. Like.
All right, options. Wait, options. Open. No. My stat. It says I'm offline, so why am I still getting? Oh my god.
Whatever.
All
All right.
So we're on
Action Point. Latest Johnny Knoxville comedy. This one, it's set in the 80s, and he's he has like a theme park or something. I don't know. It's been a month.
Yeah, it's been yeah. He's at a
Who
theme
gives a
park.
shit? It's Action Point. No one cares about the story. Whatever. I like this though.
Does.
I know it has a 10 on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. This was good. People need to calm down.
Yeah. People get too caught up in like it's not taking itself seriously. I don't know.
Here's the thing. This movie, comedy wise, is definitely very inconsistent.
It's off the wall.
Like there's moments that work. There's moments that fail completely. Like this movie definitely has moments that falls on its face, and I don't deny that. But it's funny and it's vulgar without being offensive or like super disgusting. And it's kind of sweet. Like I really didn't expect to see Action Point and be like, that was nice. Like, but
a quick
the movie really is about like the memory, like the memories of youth and kind of the chicanery and just dysfunctional times of that, of getting drunk and just having an uproarious time. And like I don't know, like to me that was kind of like, it was nice to see a movie about that. And the movie was really refreshingly old school, and just kind of like, it definitely feels like a movie from the 70s or 80s. And yeah, like get why people don't like it because the comedy is very hit or miss. But to me, like it satisfied me in that way, and it never took itself too seriously.
Yeah, it was funny. It knew what it was. It was an hour and 10 minutes too. I mean, that should sum it up right there. If a movie's an hour and 10 minutes, like, it's just trying to. It's more like you said. It's more of the throwback, I guess, type. But in a good way. Yeah, it was enjoyable. There were definitely some moments in the film where the comedy was very much a miss. I will admit.
Yeah.
I cringed a couple times, but on the other side, it was just there's stuff that happened that was so goofy that you just had to laugh.
I like Alonso Duralde, who's a film critic, says this a lot. I laughed enough times. Like, it's not a movie where you laugh a lot, but like I laughed enough where I was satisfied with it. And like I said, the movie was surprisingly kind of sweet. Like I didn't expect that.
Like
I didn't expect
drinking alcohol.
Oh. What's that?
Like there's a bear drinking alcohol in the movie.
Yeah, the movie definitely is. It's a shit show, but like in the best way. That makes sense. I'll give it a 6.
Yeah,
6.5.
I'm at the same. I'll give it a 6. Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right, let's just ban some of these out. Adrift, it sucked.
Yeah.
Well directed.
Solo, not worth the watch.
Solo's ass.
I don't even remember Solo.
We should talk about Solo for a minute, though.
All right.
Adrift, not even bother. That movie just sucks. Don't see it. No one saw it anyways. Who cares? 4 out of 10.
I agree.
It was so boring. Oh, Hotel Artemis, we completely skipped. I wonder why. 5 out of 10.
Yeah, Hotel Artemis. If I had to pick a movie that, do they have a shrug emoji? I would just use that for it. I don't know. It was
See, the thing about that, we will talk about this movie too for a minute, I guess, then, because I like what it is, like, this kind of, it's a weird kind of genre movie, but, like, it is so poorly directed. Like, there was one part I remember where Dave Bautista is about to fight, like, 30 mobsters, and I'm like, all right, shit's getting real. And it is the worst directed action scene I've ever seen. It's just like a zoom in of his face, and you just kind of see him, like, you don't even see him doing it. It's like, what? Like, I think the movie definitely, it has some social ideas that are interesting. I like Jodie Foster in it. She definitely brought some life and heart to the movie, but it just kind of sucked.
Yeah. I didn't like the whole, like, setting of it. It just didn't go over well for me. I don't know what it was.
The movie needed more personality. It needed more, like,
it reminded me of Ocean's 8 in that sense, where there wasn't much to, like, attach onto, or not much I'm gonna remember. Like, it just kind of was there, and it tried to have some social commentary, but the ideas were not fleshed out at all.
I just think it needed more charm. It needed either more memorable characters, or either more, like, kind of personality in the direction. It just kind of lacked that kind of personality, I think, and that's why I give it a 5. It's very middling.
Yeah, I'm at the same.
Adrift sucked. Solo, oh my god, was it bad?
Yeah, Solo's, wow, that was forgettable.
Solo was a dirty diaper.
See, this is why we waited to do these reviews, because a lot of them are.
There's nothing interesting to say about it. Like, I thought Alden Ehrenreich was okay, and Donald Glover was shit. It's just, the story is so bad, and the movie, like, it looks like shit, honestly. Everything looks gray and, like, ugly. This movie, I think the biggest thing to say about it, it proved no reason to exist.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it really develops Han Solo's character.
Yeah.
It's not fun. Like, it's just completely pointless.
Yeah, it was.
It's my least favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, the prequels, at least they're kind of memorable. Like, I can't ever say, like, I'll forget about the prequels, because, you know what? Even when they suck, they're funny. Like, there's something to always kind of take away from those movies. This movie just was shit.
Yeah, I would put I
give it a 4. I just don't care.
I'm at the same. There's a certain group of movies that we've been reviewing that I think, like, Solo, Hotel Artemis, and for me Ocean's 8 would be in, where it's like, it's just whatever. Like it,
Adrift too.
yeah,
Adrift was like the direction of Adrift was really good. It's just
yeah,
that movie's story choice and script like was just bizarre.
yeah,
Like the fact that it constantly cut back and forth was so stupid because
yeah,
the twist was so predictable,
yeah,
and it's like really like you ruined the pacing of the movie just for that.
yeah.
Like
But
it was dumb
yeah,
because it could have been a decent movie.
and I think, and I think that's the difference. Like Solo and Ocean's 8 weren't that. Like they were just there, uh, because there's a franchise behind it, and uh, they're gonna make money, so that's why they both were there. So they're very similar, but yeah, Solo is the same thing for me.
Well, let's end this with a good note. I
Yeah,
wanted to say two very similar movies: Upgrade and Revenge.
Upgrade.
Good time for indie action movies because boy, these movies rock.
Yeah. Want to do Upgrade first?
Yeah, Upgrade is it's I like to call it the son of RoboCop and Terminator, and I love this movie. I love this
Yeah.
movie.
The what was I gonna say? Oh, it's a Blumhouse production, which was interesting to see. Um, usually that's hit or miss, but yeah, this movie, it's not the most original thing in the world, but the stylistically, holy shit, it is impressive. Like it is really impressive.
I think it's Leigh Whannell. I think he does a fantastic job both directing and writing this movie because this movie is simplistic but in a good way. Like, and it still has some substance to it too.
Yeah.
I think Logan Marshall Green is legitimately great in this movie and gives it the kind of the heart that it needs because what this movie is about is this he gets paralyzed and he has this stem chip in him and this stem chip is slowly kind of taking him over and we kind of are witnessing his loss and it's kind of like in a lot of ways it signifies him losing himself after losing his wife and I thought the movie actually did have some substance to it but as an action movie boy does it deliver
Yeah.
the action is all very well done it's very stylistic but in a good way it moves along at a great pace, and the ending definitely it hits. Like it's nice to see an ending where it's like, damn, that was satisfying. Like
Yeah.
like it felt like the right direction of the movie. It had a great twist. This is just really smart filmmaking.
I love the camera work in this. Just the crazy like motions the camera made like mid scene, and it was done so like clean and like effortlessly. It didn't feel like poorly edited or anything. Yeah, there's just a lot of great attention to detail, specifically in the direction of the film, and I think that's why it was so good. And it was only an hour and a half too, so it moved really well.
Yeah, definitely is going to be a movie in my top 10.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Guarantee it. I guarantee it. I loved it.
Yeah.
My favorite movie this summer. 9 out of 10.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Actually, no, First Reform, but 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll give it a 9 too. It was a perfect summer movie for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our next action movie, Revenge, which is
This one
has been it's been out for a while, but I think it's definitely a movie to spotlight. Holy shit!
This movie has like Revenge has like 3, maybe 4 scenes that are probably like for me so far this year are like top 10 most memorable like scenes of the year.
This movie is just so well done. Corley Farge, oh my god, she fucking kills it. She should direct her and Leigh Whannell. Just let them direct every movie with action in it because holy crap,
Jen is
this movie was so like inexpensively made, but it was great, smart, energetic filmmaking. It had substance to it, like Upgrade. Like I kind of group these movies together because I feel very similarly about them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, me too. There's just it's yeah, this movie definitely runs on like just memorability and just a lot of like like Upgrade, a lot of great action scenes, a lot of like great still, I don't want to say pictures, but a lot of like even more so in this movie, a lot of great attention to detail. There's a lot of
Mhm.
a lot of scenes where there'll be like a little bug on the ground, and you just see like blood dripping on the bug, and it's like close up. Um, it's just like the attention to detail is so impressive. A lot of great.
And a lot of unique ways of like shooting. Like I love the scene where they're chasing after her, and you kind of correlate shoots like the shots of all of them running and getting like tired,
Yeah,
like the fat guy. Like I love that. Like every she finds ways to kind of do a lot of like very commonplace plot points in action movies in very unique and fun ways, and I love that. The movie has a very like pop-esque kind of look to it that I fucking dig the hell out of.
yeah. And there's another montage in it too where the main actress takes a drug, and it's like
Yeah,
really trippy, but in a good way. um,
yeah,
yeah, it was a fantastic movie.
it's definitely another 9 for me.
Yeah, I gotta be the same.
And I think both films are great examples of you don't need a big budget to make a good action movie.
Yeah.
Like you really do not. You just need to be smart. You need to have good ideas and just bring a lot of life to it. And I hope hope Colin Trevorrow sits down and watches them and says, "Oh my God, I've really been shooting the bed."
And I think there's a little bit of there's some merit to this movie too.
Oh, I think definitely.
Story wise, like it has the feminine quality in this movie, but a lot more subtle and not as, you know, I don't know, just like they don't like specifically say it in the script, like you're a woman, you can't do, what I'm saying, like it definitely it had the feminine quality, and it was you could tell it wasn't like hard to realize that, but necessarily, but it was done more effectively for sure.
I definitely think you can interpret a lot of the events in this movie in different ways.
Yeah.
Too.
Mm.
Like Sean Baker said a very interesting thing about the movie. I don't want to spoil, but I thought it was an interesting take, and I was like, oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I give it a 9 as well. Fantastic.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
It was a month worth of movies that we saw. Finally got through it, but we'll be back.
I just felt like I ran the fucking marathon.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. It's been a while, so both of us are definitely.
Sorry, Adrift. Right. Actually, I'm not. That movie sucked.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice because that way you can just blow through the shitty movies. It's like I don't feel like talking about Adrift. They were bad.
But yeah, so pretty diverse list of movies. I'll put them all. When I put the YouTube video up, I'll put them all down below, so you guys can check them out again if you don't watch the whole review, because it is a long one. The whole video, I mean. So I'll put that up, and we'll be back. Uncle Drew comes out this weekend. Maybe we'll be back quicker than the last time, but who knows? So, but stick with us, and there's past content too that if you want to check out that we did, you can check out our YouTube channel at The Movies with Matt and Ryan, and hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your week.